Welcome to the Impactful Introvert podcast. I'm your host, Seema Pateel, an introverted business coach and a mom of two. My genius shines in helping introverted women map out a simple and sustainable marketing strategy tailored to their goals and introverted personalities. Every week, I'll share with you how you can simplify your marketing so that it is sustainable. After all, you started your business to serve clients and make an impact, not to master marketing. So, let's jump right in. Hi, Kirsten. Welcome to the Impactful Introvert podcast. You are a confidence and writing lifestyle coach, book editor, and a self-published writer. Please tell us how all of these came about.
Yeah, it was definitely not something I totally planned for my life. I've always known I wanted to be a writer. I've always been very creative, and I've been writing stories since I was like 7 years old, so it's always been part of my life, and I'm really avid reader and everything. And I started out of college. I started a copywriting business for small businesses and things like that, just to help with like website and social media and everything. And then eventually I just kind of connected with more authors and learned about self-publishing and evolved into a book editor because, it's just something that I'm naturally interested in and do well at. And then as I, worked more in editing and that technical side of things, I really saw the need for more of the mindset side of things. And that's where the confidence coaching came in. So I got my certification as a life and wellness coach. And then I was just able to, combine those two processes together to, help writers through that journey of, what's my plan? What am I doing? What's my purpose? And still be able to be a book editor too. It's, this is what we're actually doing to get the book out, right?
Yes, that is so interesting. I mean, yeah, we all started out thinking about writing in a fun way when we were kids. And I am an avid reader. I was an avid reader too. Now it's not as much. It's with the limited time. I read for fun. And honestly, when you think about writing content, like a social media post is often just a few hundred words, and we struggle with that writing in our business. So writing a book kind of feels daunting, and I'm very confident that along with having your own experience, the certification you have is definitely very helpful to your clients.
Yeah, and I feel like when I was in the process of getting it, there were some people that I talked to because I didn't really know where to go at first, like what's a good place to get the certification. So I kind of talked to other coaches about what their experience is, and I kind of got a half and half answer of like, yeah, get this certification, get this, or no, you don't really need a certification to be a coach because it's not a regulated field, right? So there were some people that were like, yeah, but for me, like I didn't really know where to start. Like I've been told that like I'm good at like inspiring people, and I have like a good way of speaking where I'm able to connect with people. Since I am a writer too, it's easier to connect with my audience. So I was just like, I don't really know how to be a coach. Like I could still kind of. So I was really grateful to have that certification to like, okay, this is the direction that I want to go. And this is like the style that I want to have. I don't follow exactly every single thing that I was taught, but, I took a lot of what I learned, and now I'm able to, combine that with my book editing and just create something that's me and not just what everybody else thinks I need to be.
Of course, we can never completely, like, it makes no sense that you completely just follow the curriculum that you've been given. When you start implementing it, you obviously make changes. I'm curious as to the changes that you made to your processes. How did your introversion influence them?
Yeah, I think I'm a very good listener with being like introvert. I'm more like, to myself a little bit more and everything. So that was something that was really taught in my life coaching program, where it's like, you're very, very listening most of the time. And, you don't really say too much. You're asking like open-ended questions, things like that. And, I kind of had that natural sense of, okay, when am I listening? When do I cut people off and that kind of thing. But I find that with my coaching, I talk a little bit more and kind of share a little bit more of my experiences, but I play off of the person I'm talking to, right? Like maybe they need me to say more. Maybe they need me to just be a sounding board, right? So I think I've done pretty well of just kind of having that gut feeling and that intuition of like, okay, this is what this person needs. I'm going to sit back a little bit and see what comes of it.
Yes. The listening aspect comes up so frequently among introverts. That has definitely been something that I have heard from my clients and potential clients where I didn't realize it until they said it to me that I'm a very good listener because, yes, I want to know exactly what is happening with you so that I can specifically figure the things that are more subconscious rather than the words that you're just saying. So that active listening aspect is such a blessing, and as introverts we feel that quite a lot. Like we are probably not as good at speaking, but we forget that we are so good at listening, and that is where we speak from. We don't just start talking because we have to talk. We talk based off of what we've listened. So yeah, we make really excellent coaches.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because I was talking to one of the people, one of the other students in my class, and I was like, yeah, I don't really talk too much. Sometimes I feel like I'm just sitting there. And then she was like, but when you say something, it's important and it's smart. And she was like complimenting me. I'm like, oh my God, like, I speak when I have something to say. Like, I'm not trying to, sometimes I do have the habit of like, there's awkward silence and I feel like the need to fill the void, but that's like something to work on, right? So it's just like, it's, when I do have something to say, like I do want to speak up and say like, this is my piece and do with it what you will, right?
Yes, so well said. Like, yes, we all feel the need to fill the awkward silence. And when an extrovert does it, as an introvert, I would feel like, oh, this person's so good at continuing a conversation. But then did not necessarily mean continue the conversation. It just meant that we were talking. Yes, we did not have a moment of silence. And it was not like, why are we sitting here kind of a situation. So I'm curious, what is one thing that it's like a best kept secret about you that you want more people to come to know of now?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm pretty open on my socials and some personal journeys that I've been through and who I am. Like I really just am an authentic person, and I'm a business of one basically. So it's just me trying to work on my socials. And one thing that was suggested to me once was like, get somebody to do all your social copywriting for me. But then like as a writer, I'm like, that feels so like fraud like, because like if I'm a writer and I'm not writing my own content, it feels so weird. So it's just like, it's interesting to have that experience where like I want to do everything myself and be authentic and like show up for all these people, but at the same time I know that I'm gonna need to get some help at some point with advertising or like little things like posting blogs and podcasts and things like that. But yeah, I'm pretty open about who I am and what I've been through. And I had a cancer battle a couple years ago, and I'm good now and everything. So I was pretty open about that. And yeah, I just feel like when you're on social media, you kind of need to have that authenticity where it's like there's so many people that like hold a little bit back. Like, I'm not saying you have to share everything about your life. It's all a choice, right? But I think some people manipulate certain things in a way where it's just like, oh, this is what it kind of looks like. And that's what social media is most of the time, is just like reality versus social media, right?
I'm so glad that you were able to beat cancer. Congratulations on winning at
Thanks.
actually winning at life. Like with the everyday things, sometimes it can feel too much. So I'm so glad that you actually won over it. It is so common that I hear about people saying, I cannot hire someone to create my content. And I totally understand you as a writer herself having that feeling of, this is my thing. How can I hire somebody else for it? So I completely understand that aspect. How did you figure out how to like, did it come naturally to you to be authentic, or did you have to work on yourself on what you want the world to see? And like you said, you don't have to put everything out for everyone to see, but whatever you put out, that is completely your choice. So how did you decide how much of you want people to see, and how did you feel comfortable with the idea that people are going to see you?
Yeah, you know, when I first started out, like I've been doing this since 2015. So when I first started out, there was that, I have to have this image of like super professionalism and I can't be like funny or like things like that. Like I'm a business owner. I got to be like serious all the time, right? So there was a lot of soul searching, kind of finding myself situations where I'm just like, okay, like how do I want to connect with my audience? Like who do I want to work with? Because when I first started out, it was a lot of like small businesses, so it felt a little bit more like that professional nature of like, handshakes and business meetings and things like that, right? But when I'm working with such creative people, I had to kind of learn like, okay, it's okay to, show a little bit more of your quirky self and, share stories from your life and stuff like that. Because like I've heard so many people say lately, we've kind of lost the social part of social media. It's just like, cranking out content and doing all this stuff. But, it's okay to just, put out an engagement post of like, do you prefer coffee or tea or things like that? Like, do you like dogs? Like just fun things to be able to just connect with people every once in a while and not feel like you have to constantly sell to them. So I just slowly was able to, as I like grew as an editor and a coach and, figured out what my offers were, I could really be like, have more freedom to be like, okay, this is who I am. My branding is like sunflowers and happiness and confidence and things like that. So once I kind of nailed that down, it really made it easier to be like, what content matches this branding and these bright colors and everything. So it's just kind of trial and error and just figuring out like, is it okay to do video where, it's not as bright or, it's not like I'm saying, or I'm doing, lives where I'm just like, blanking on things and stuff, right? Because for the most part, with me, I have to like have a script or something when I do like a little reel or a little live where I'm just like, okay, I need to know what I'm saying because I want to keep it short and I don't want to have to edit it, for so long, right? So it's just, finding that balance of, imperfection and, just being creative and just trying new things. And, that's my word of the year is try. So just being able to experience those things and just kind of go for it and be okay with, that creative part being imperfect and messy and everything.
So many golden nuggets right there. It's so true that yes, you, and I think the idea of being professional and polished and all actually came down multiple notches from 2020, when a lot of people were at home and in this setting where it's not a professional setting. Like when you go to work at an office, everything is done for you. Like you have a specific cubicle or an office, and yeah, you arrange it, you personalize it, but you limit yourself. So that completely changed when you were working from home, from your couch or your bed or your dining table, and everything was there in the background. So I understand the the struggle because I started in 2017, and yeah, coming from the software engineering field and starting out as a developer, I used to approach everything the way we would approach at work, very formal emails, very please find attached, please respond, and all kinds of things. And then, but the people I was working with, they were not even businesses. They were at first bloggers. So they weren't so professional. And it was like, okay, so normal people don't talk like this in their emails.
Yeah, and I think these days because we want to see more of the people that we're working with, and when there's so many people you can connect with online, and if you can't meet them in person, you have to kind of verify them somehow, right? So just being able to show more of who you are and connect as a person and not just a business owner, people want more of that these days, just so they can have that trust factor, right?
Exactly. I saw a recent post, like Taylor Swift is a thing on social media. So recently, someone had posted that some of the photographs that were uploaded, or I don't know, the post specifically said that people are so going so crazy over those after game party pictures because they feel like they were over there. And Taylor's not even selling anything other than fun stuff. If you look at it, like her music is for pleasure, it's not for personal development or doing the hard things that many business owners have to overcome as part of it. And still, people wanted to feel like they were with her in those moments, and that is what most of the comments on her photographs were, that they were feeling like they were present. So that is the aspect that especially us introverts struggle with more, because we question. I personally don't use my phone as much for photographing. Like, I am not constantly taking photographs throughout my day. So when I feel like I have to do this for stories on Instagram, then it's an unnecessary pressure that I'm adding to myself. And that is what makes social media feel very uncomfortable, because you're doing something that is not natural to you, that is not usual to you.
Yeah, and I've heard people say that like social media is geared mainly towards extroverts because it's like when you have advice of like how to grow on Instagram, say, and stuff like that with reels, it's like, oh, post one reel a day and make sure to engage with your audience and do this and this and this. It's like, that's exhausting. That just drains all my energy out, right? So you have to limit like, 10 minutes a day you comment on a few posts and it's just creating a schedule for yourself that protects your energy and says like, this is all that I can handle. This is all that I'm going to do. And that's okay. And being okay with that and not letting other people that are like extrovert being like, oh, you should be doing, you know, TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn and like all the platforms and everything. And like, if that works for you, perfect. But that's not going to be something that I do because I prefer, Instagram and Facebook is more than enough for me and being able to post, 5 days a week is more than enough because I'm a business of one and that's all that I can handle, right?
I think the problem here is, as introverts, while just scrolling, we are spending energy. And we do the mindless pick up the phone and scroll on social media without even realizing. After that, when you have to again go back to social media to consciously engage, to consciously publish, to consciously create the content that is necessary, it definitely feels like I am spending too much time on it. But if you actually see, if you add up the work time, it is not really as much. Yes, when you're thinking about your post, what should you post? How should you write it? You expend a lot of energy, because I think this is an introvert, like this is not an introvert only thing, but you want to come across as like each post as something very special, something very valuable, um, rather than just some trivial thing, because everybody's posting content and you want to get people's attention and keep it. So there's a lot of pressure from how you perceive it, rather than actually it putting pressure on you. So that is what I find my clients struggle with the most when it comes to creating content. They think it has to, every single post has to be uh, that explosive effect of a nuclear bomb, but all we need is tiny sparks, which will, which, like, nobody wants to see a huge explosion anywhere, especially not on social media. You don't want to be bombarded with a lot of information, because you're there. The reason you picked up the phone and opened that particular app is because you weren't even thinking. So getting uh, too much information is not going to work. Like, those are not going to resonate as much. That is what my clients miss when they come to me. But then the things are completely different. Um, I want to know, what is one advice you would give yourself if you went back to 2016 that would change how you did things?
I think I would say stop listening to everybody else. I mean, it's good to have advice and learn from people that, have more experience from you, but at the end of the day, you have to make the decisions for yourself. And like I just said with like the energy thing and being introvert and like one example is so many coaches tell me like go to group coaching, it it's less time, makes more money, that kind of thing. But it's just like group coaching is another energy suck. And, it's hard to, be able to give everyone that proper focus that they need. And, when I'm like listening to one person, somebody else might say something and it's just kind of like that chaotic feeling sometimes. So I prefer to do like one to one. So, it's kind of that choose what you want to listen to, consider the source, that kind of thing, where it's just like, it's okay to do whatever you want and maybe learn from maybe it's not a good idea, but at least you've done it and you've learned from it your way. So, it's kind of finding that fine balance again. I talk about balance a lot, of just like finding, you still want to be authentic and find your purpose and be able to create something that you want to do and that you enjoy, because that's the whole point of being business owners, right? We want that freedom and that creativity and everything. So just finding that balance of, this is what you want, this is what experts say work, figure out, like, because everyone's going to say like, oh, this is the be all end all, this is what worked for me, so it's going to work for you type thing, right? So it's just like filtering out the noise and just kind of figuring out what's going to be best for you.
So very well said, because everybody's posting content and there's so much more to consume. It is very easy to feel drawn to multiple aspects because all of them are like really good recommendations. It's very hard for you to just knock everything off as no, this is not. Everyone sounds so helpful and they are trying to be helpful. It's just that you have to realize what's really going to work for you, rather than just thinking because they are all so good, I should just try everything. Something might work. Like, that is so easy a trap to fall into. And I find, as an overthinker and overanalyzer, I find taking very little action because there's so much information that I need to process, that I need to filter, that I need to, so many things. So it is analysis paralysis. Such a good advice. Yes, you need help, especially when you're new. You should take in some information, but then you have to assess what is the right thing for you and then start taking action immediately, rather than just thinking and thinking and thinking and analyzing.
Yeah, one trick that I've kind of created for myself is if I'm trying to figure out like what course to take next or what book to read or who to listen to, like I narrow it down to 3 and that's it. You have to choose one of those 3, because if I'm like the overanalyzing, like you said too, or just like if I keep going down that rabbit hole, I'm never going to make a decision. So I just have to go for it and see how it works.
Exactly. And the fear of not doing it right is also a big player in why the overthinking happens. I don't want to get it wrong, because who wants to redo all of this work? It's not fun. But honestly, if everything was working right, yeah, you'd make money and you would have a lot of clients, but then you would get bored of it because it felt monotonous. No challenges is actually what is not fun. Having everything working smoothly is going to feel, it's like the dopamine hit comes from overcoming the challenge, not just getting everything right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've dealt with too, of just like, I have to make the right decision or else, I'm going to throw myself off track, right? But I feel like no matter what stage you are in business, you're always kind of shifting and growing and finding out what to tweak and what to leave. Like you said, if you don't like that monotony, if you don't like that same thing day to day, that's why I have my own business and why I'm creative, because every day is different, right? So, there's always going to be a chance to try something different. There's going to be new trends and this and that. So it's just, you don't have to stick to one thing. And if you don't try these different things, then you don't know what's actually going to work.
Very true. Very true. I want to ask you about how you bring sunflower sunshine to the creative world.
Yeah, I love that question. I've never been asked it like that before. I've gotten a lot of compliments on my sunflowers, and then it makes people just feel happy and more confident and just feeling good. And that's what I want out of my branding, is just show my creativity, show people that you know sometimes I just want to shake people and be like, be happy. Like I want everybody to be happy, and I'm tired of all the negativity and sadness on social media and stuff. So just being able to share that and share my stories, whether it's my personal stories or fiction writing or anything, and just being able to create a space for people to do the same and to be confident and share their work too. And one of the most common things that I've heard from writers lately is just like it's nerve-wracking to, be a marketer and to put myself out there and everything. And I feel like most writers are introverted too, right? So just being able to give them that confidence and give them that, advice like, you're a writer if you write, it's never too late to start writing, just things like that, where it's just like, it's not like sports where you retire at 25. It's, you can write whenever you want. So I just love being able to share that message of, creativity, positivity, encouragement, and just, be creative, do what you want, create the life that you want, because, you've only got one, so might as well do whatever you want with it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And yes, like you said, like, yeah, very few things you can start at any age and end at any age. And writing definitely is something that you can start whenever. Honestly, it's if you want to create impact, then writing is one of the best ways, especially in today's world, because you're not limited to just reading the book. You have the option of creating an audiobook out of it, and people who don't even enjoy sitting or don't have time to sit and read definitely are listening to audiobooks. Like, such a valid point. Like, yeah, you can start whenever, and no doubt it feels too much to market whatever you've created. However, we forget that when you're new, marketing is not supposed to be at Coca-Cola level or the big brand level. It just has to be get the word out. And when you're at a place where you need to get the word out to more people beyond what the social media algorithm does for you, you will be in a position to hire people to run ads and take your marketing, actually take it to the level that you imagine you need right now when you're brand new.
Yeah, for sure. And like especially self-published authors, I see them as business owners because, there's a lot of your own work that you have to promote, and you kind of wear all the hats, right? Which is true for, self-employed business owners too, right? And it's just, creating that space for yourself to just explore and, practice. And, I've been doing lives and videos for quite a while now, but when I first started out, they were like looking back on old things that I created was like, ugh, that's just like, why did you do it that way? But that's how you learn, right? And you have to kind of figure it out along the way. And, when you are a self-published writer trying to market your book, it kind of feels like everything has to happen at once and you have to like constantly do it and constantly do that. But it's like, there's a difference between frequency and consistency. Like you can be consistent and, work on your book for one day a week or something like that. And if you do it every week, that's consistent. Like frequency is just how much you're doing it, right? And, it's a long game. And sure, if you post one reel a day, you might grow faster, but it doesn't always work for people. So it's just about keep showing up as much as you can.
Yes, so true. And it is not necessary that you will grow just because you posted a reel. There is some strategy involved because anything can be a reel. Reel is not restricted to any video can be a reel. And yeah, there are always trends, and you feel pressure to follow the trend. You feel the pressure to stay up to date with them. But that and all is not necessary. It's about being very clear what the message is that needs to be shared and then going ahead and sharing it, whether it is in video format or written format. It's more about the message than the medium used for the way to convey it. So I want to know, what is one thing that you're very proud of having figured out early on in your business?
Yeah, I think it's just even just starting a business is I'm proud of, right? Like I'm the only entrepreneur type in my family, so just being able to start my business and kind of know what I want. Like I said, like I've always wanted to be a writer, so just the fact that I've gone after it and I've evolved and shifted as I learned new things and learned about myself, and just being able to become a book editor and coach and just being able to keep showing up every day and being able to work on that and to help other people. Because I feel like no matter what business you're in, no matter whether you're introvert, extrovert, there's always kind of that goal of like, you want to connect with people, you want to help with people, and there's so many different ways you can do that. And so just being part of this community is just like, it was scary at first, for sure. I mean, there's still some days where I'm just like, oh, should I be doing this still? And, there's, those ups and downs, right? But like, this is my purpose. This is what I've always wanted to do. And I can't imagine doing anything else. And, if somebody asked me to work a 9-to-5 office job or retail job, I'd be like, oh, do I have to? Because that's just not what's going to light me up, right? So I'm just glad that I'm able to keep showing up and inspiring people. And people have told me that I've inspired them to write, which always feels good, right? We always like our compliments and knowing that we're doing something, and what we're doing is making a difference.
Yes, and when you love doing something and people are actually benefiting from it, you're able to create an impact. That is the most fulfilling aspect of whatever your life's purpose is. That is why it feels like it's your life's purpose. And I'm so glad that you found it in writing and encouraging writers. What is one tip, not advice, just one tip you would give a new writer or someone who is considering writing?
I would just say write every day. It doesn't necessarily have to be, a project that you're going to publish or whatever, but just getting into that habit of writing can really just help you and stay in that flow. Because there's sometimes that writers tell me like, oh yeah, like I stopped writing for a while. I don't know how to get back into it. So if you can just do something like we've talked about, writing social media stuff and then things like that, like there's always something that you can be writing, and it doesn't always have to be shared. So just write as often as you can.
That's a great tip. That is absolutely the most effective tip when it comes to most of the things. Like, just do a little bit of it every single day, and then it stops feeling so difficult. So it was really fun talking to you, Kirsten. I learned so many things about writing, and I know that all of these things can easily be implemented in your marketing as well, because social media content is oftentimes writing. Even if you're creating a video, you're still thinking about what's the content going to be in there. So you can, all of these steps can be applied to marketing as well. So thank you so much. I want to know, what is one book you recommend every introvert should read?
One book that it's funny because I actually haven't read it myself, but it's so popular, Atomic Habits, by James Clear, I think is the author. It's just such a good way and a simple way to just learn how to, build habits. And I actually just posted a podcast today where my guest talked about that book as well. And it's just, if you just have trouble just building time for writing and getting into that, and, just finding your energy in any ways too, right? Just creating a schedule for yourself. And I think that's helpful for, introverts, business owners, writers, anyone that just wants to find that, just that consistency and that progress. And, so I keep talking about this book, so I just need to read it myself. It's just so funny that it was just the first one that comes to mind, right? But it's so popular, but it's good to, be able to share that, and hopefully it helps other writers too.
It is an excellent book, and if you don't have the time to read, I recommend you go to YouTube and look for book summaries. There are so many people who enjoy putting book summaries. Like, pick whatever book you want, go through the summary, and if you want more in-depth steps or whatever, then pick up the book yourself and go through it. And Atomic Habits is an excellent book for all of us, honestly. I have a copy of it just so my kids will someday pick it up and read. It was really fun talking to you. Where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, just thank you so much for having me. It's been a fun conversation. So if anyone wants to find me, I'm mainly on Instagram, confident.kirsten, and my website is worthywriters.ca. So you can find my podcast. I have a shop with some, writer resources, courses, and things like that. And they learn a little bit about me, and I have a newsletter as well that goes out weekly. And that's kind of the main things. I did just recently start Pinterest, so if you're on there, maybe I'm Confident Kirsten on there. So yeah, those are the main ones.
Okay, I'll put all of this along with the book, link to the book in the show notes. And I hope our listeners also found our conversation just as insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Impactful Introvert podcast. If you want to share your views, opinions, or ask me questions, then please send me a message on Instagram. My handle is Seema Pateel. See you in the next one.